Good is get you it's your boy Sam back here with another video, and in this video today guys we're gonna be going over and talking about the top small forwards in NBA 2K24 MyTEAM and ranking them on a tier list. Now, I will say in Season 2, we've seen a lot of new small forwards, so since the last time I did this video, there's a lot of new guys, even like Rashard Lewis, even like a Hedo Turkoglu. Those guys, Brandon Ingram, weren't on our last one, and so that's kind of, again, another reason that I am excited to do this. I feel like we've got a lot of really solid small forwards, even like a Dorian Finney-Smith, even a guy like, I don't know, I'm just looking for another guy, Jason Tatum. Those are like really solid small forwards. But as far as elite of elite, we might only see one small forward at S tier. So just kind of prepare yourself for that as we dive into this, starting with the Ruby Andre Iguodala coming in at C tier. Iggy is a fine 3-and-D option. I don't have any problems with Andre Iguodala in general. It's just there's a limit to what he can provide for you on the court. He's solid, but as solid as good as it is going to get for Mr. Iggy. Good 3-and-D option, just doesn't do anything at an elite level, even defensively. I would just say he's solid. Tubby Walker up next. He's exactly that. Tubster in my team. He's going D tier. I don't love Tubby Walker. I mean, as far as a Season 1 salary cap reward, he's not even my favorite Season 1 salary cap reward. So, I mean, you guys can sit here and say I'm hating on him, sit here and say all this stuff. I just am not a fan of Tubster in my team. I'm just not. You guys might really like the card. I just don't think he brings enough to the table defensively. Cam Whitmore, I'm throwing at C tier as well. I think he's more on the Iggy level compared to a Tubby Walker because defensively he is still going to be absolutely really solid. And so, I mean, for me, when I look at things, if a card is super solid on that defensive end of the court, they're going to be ranked ahead of a guy like Tubby Walker who might shoot the ball better but defensively struggle a little bit. I do like Whitmore, great 3-and-D option. Came out a while ago, but he is still solid. Let's say you haven't, you grinded for him and haven't picked up the game for a while. Cam Whitmore is still a guy you can go out there and trust to get you some stops on the court as well as offensively. Just knock down shots. And again, he's not perfect by any means, but gonna do enough for you. Robert Covington, I think is better than both of these guys. I'm putting Robert Covington at B tier. I feel like the more I use Robert Covington, the more I become a fan of the card, which is crazy because when the card first came out, I hyped him up a ton. But I feel like he just continues to impress me, and so I'll continue to talk about the card. What can he not do on the court? Good player model, good player build. He can defend on the interior. He can get you paint stops. He's got a really high 3-ball, a super easy release to green. I just don't see any flaws in Covington, and I love complete players in my team. As long as you're a complete player in my team, I'll hype you up. Covington is exactly that. He comes in at B tier. Chuck Person up next. I mean, I used him today to get a challenge done, to get a free level up equal chance pack. I just don't see it with the card. Some people might really like him. And if that somebody is you, do what you got to do. He's got a fine release. He's got a decent 3-ball. For me, I think there's way better small forwards than Chuck Person, especially for today's game, today's era. Next up, guys, we do see Grant Hill, another guy I feel like super underrated. I would not have a problem running Grant Hill still to this day. Like, let's say I had to run him to, and needed to save some MT. You can run him because he is a really solid small forward. Now, is he to that elite level? I mean, some people would argue no, but I've still had a ton of success when I've had to use Grant Hill or when I have used him. I feel like he's a complete small forward. Release is weird. Some people might not like that release, but I'm fine with it. I don't have a problem with the release. And as far as I'm concerned, as long as you can green with him, he is absolutely elite at that small forward position because he can attack the rim, plays good defense, does everything you can ask of at that small forward position. Scottie Pippen, our first card in A tier. I feel like Scottie Pippen was way ahead of his time. I just don't know why he's so good, why 2K decided to make his release that good. But his release is so good. And it's crazy because Scottie Pippen used to have that kind of load-up type release. And ever since they changed it, he's been immaculate. He is A tier. Trevor Ariza up next. I don't love the card. Is he D tier? I think he is. You could argue C tier. I don't have a problem with it because he's a good, decent 3-and-D option. I just think I'd still take Cam Whitmore as well as Andre Iguodala over him. Now, again, you guys could argue that, and I don't have a problem if you do. But for me, Ariza is D tier. James Posey without the duo is D tier as well. With the duo, he might be up to C tier, maybe even B tier. But the problem is, nobody really wants to run Nick Van Exel, and I don't really blame them. I mean, at this stage, guys, are we really hyping up Nick Van Exel? For me, I don't think I'm going to. If you want to, do what you got to do. I'm just probably not going to be the one to do that. Danny Granger up next. I mean, I will say, when Danny Granger first came out, I slandered that release. I did. I slandered the release of Danny Granger, and it really wasn't as bad as I made it out to be, right? I made it out to be a just horrible release. And in reality, it really was never that bad. But is Danny Granger a guy I really want to use that much of at this stage? No. And that's not me saying Danny Granger is bad, because, again, I kind of underrated him when he came out because he was long, lengthy, could do some things for us. But at this stage, am I going to sit here and hype the card up? I'm not. Some people might want to. I'm not going to be the one to do it. King James, by far and away, not only the best small forward in the game, he's by far and away the best card in the game. It's not even particularly close. And I know there's going to be some people that try to argue me on this. Trust me when I tell you guys, it is not close. The gap between LeBron and your next best small forward is so large. LeBron, is he expensive? Yes. I mean, you're going to have to spend $100 on the game, but just look at his stats, look at his badges. Supposedly they updated his hotspots as well. Card is elite. Carmelo Anthony, I'm going to go A tier. I feel like when Melo first came out, I might have underrated him just because I was not a big fan of Melo. I normally am not in my team, but I still feel like he's deserving of A tier. I mean, he knocks down shots. He has a wide player model player build. I still think A tier is the spot where he belongs. You could argue B tier, and I don't have a problem with it, but I do think as long as he fits what you're wanting at your small forward position, then you can argue A tier. I will never use him at the small forward position just because I want a guy that's going to play a little more defense. But again, if he fits what you want, forget what I'm saying. Do what you guys got to do. Mikal Bridges up next. I'll go A tier with Mikal. I got to say, I prefer Scottie Pippen over him. I personally do. And I tried using Mikal in a tournament type setting last night, and I just really struggled with him. So, I mean, I know during the gameplay I was cooking with them, all those things, but you get a true test when you go into a competitive type level game, play with the card, and then see how good they truly are against some of the other top guys. My whole thing with Mikal is I feel like his release just is so slow, so baited, and it just hurts him quite a bit. Paul George up next. I'm going to do something. I'm going to move some guys around because at this stage, I feel like I've got to. I just feel like I can't. I can't. Paul George is A tier. And I feel like I can't have him at the same tier as a guy like Mikal Bridges because Paul George is so much better than Mikal Bridges, it's not even close. If there was another card I wanted to move into S tier with LeBron James, it would be Paul George. He is so good. He's a guy I kind of wish I had. Like, I really do. Like, I know he was in the Giannis set, and I think Giannis is ridiculously expensive. But in that Giannis set, Paul George is the only card that I think, okay, alongside Giannis is going to play for a while. Like, yes, Chet's good. Magic was cheesy for a while. But, I mean, as far as cards that are going to play for a while, it is going to be Paul George and Giannis. Brandon Ingram, I'm going to go B tier. I mean, I don't think Brandon Ingram is as good as Paul George or Scottie Pippen. Now, with the Scottie Pippen thing, here's what you guys got to realize. I'm higher on Scottie Pippen than nearly anybody else. I love Scottie's release. I think he plays such great defense. So yes, I'm going to be higher on Scottie Pippen than most people, and I am okay with that. That's why he's at A tier. Jerome Kersey, I don't see it with the card. I'm sorry. I don't see it out of you, Jerome Kersey. You might be doing something, but again, as far as I'm concerned, not for me. You're D tier. You're just not really anything. You're not great defensively. It's not like, you're good shooting wise. And those are the main two things in my team. So what are you doing for me on the court? Nothing. That's the answer. Glenn Robinson is so good. He's B tier. I, again, forgot him on the top 10 small forward list when I did it, but trust me, guys, Glenn Robinson is really good, and if that's your small forward, man, you're doing something right, because the card is absolutely fantastic in my team, and I have no problem if you run him for the foreseeable future, because I know he was in the deal of the day for a day, and again, if you bought him during that, you got a really solid small forward in my team. Terry up next. At this stage, guys, he's C tier. I mean, until they update him, I'm not going to sit here and gas Terry. He's not good. 2K needs to update him in the worst way, because as it stands right now, Terry is literally C tier on this small forward list, which is so sad. Because imagine if 2K would give Terry small shooting guard eligibility and would have made him a cheese ball. People would be so excited to grind a salary cap, but with as bad as they made him, nobody is grinding the mode and nobody is talking about Terry, and all they had to do is make him a little better. Hedo Turkoglu up next. I do think he's deserving of B tier. He's different at that small forward position because he's more of that offensive head, but I don't mind the card. And even if you wanted to see my Hedo cook, man, go watch the Hedo Turkoglu gameplay. He did enough for me to not hate the card. I don't love him. He's fine. He's just not a card I'll ever run in like a competitive setting, anything like that. Just for the sole sake of, again, I like defense at my small forward position, and I just don't know how much defense Hedo truly is going to play for me. Next up, guys, MPJ. B tier. I mean, I'm going to throw a lot of these guys at B tier because I think B tier is the tier of really good, not elite. Because I can only have Braun at S tier, and so that makes things really difficult. MPJ is fine. I like his release better this year than I have in past years. I just don't know if he does enough on the court defensively to be ahead of B tier. I mean, you guys, again, can argue me if you think I'm wrong, but that's just kind of my opinion as it stands right now. Now, again, who's to say that can't change, because it can. But as it stands right now, I think that's where I'm at with MPJ. Rashard Lewis up next. I don't know, B tier, I guess. And I hate this. Okay, I got to move some guys up from B tier, because some of these guys don't belong in there. Okay, Mikhail up, Brandon Ingram up. I think I like that a little more. Maybe Melo up. I'm not gonna move Melo up. I think I like this a little more just because, like, B tier is getting to be mid. Like, Rashard Lewis is mid. Even Hedo is pretty mid. And so it's like, I cannot have Brandon Ingram at that tier. I cannot have, Mikal Bridges at that tier, because those guys are better than a guy like Rashard Lewis and Hedo. Rashard's fine, gonna shoot the ball well, just not be great. Aaron Gordon, I'm gonna put him at B tier. It's gonna surprise some people. No, I'm not. His release is too slow, though. His release is so slow, and now that I'm thinking about it, I'm moving Rashard down too. I don't love Rashard Lewis, so I'm gonna move him down. I know Rashard's he's gonna shoot the ball well. That's what he does for you on the court. I just don't know if I love that release enough to put him up ahead of C tier. So this is where I'm at right now. I don't know. Aaron Gordon defensively is really solid, but again, it just all boils down to that release is just so slow, so I'm not gonna sit there and hype it up. If you want to, do what you gotta do. I'm just not gonna be the one to hype it up. Page up next. Page is B tier. Talk about a guy that's gonna shoot the lights out. Page is gonna do that. Now, outside of that, he is still 6'10" on the court, so at least he gives you something like that. I just don't know. I mean, obviously, yes, he's gonna shoot the ball well, but outside of that, what is Page giving you on the court? He's not defending nobody at all. He's going to get you 0 stops. The only thing he's got going for him defensively is the fact that he's 6'10". Outside of that, he's not very good. Andre Kirilenko, A tier. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Is he better than Paul George? No. But he might be my second favorite guy at A tier here. Honestly. Like, I really enjoy using AK. And for a while, I thought Mikhail was better. He's not. AK is so good on that defensive end of the court. I can't even just, like, explain it in words. You just have to know and be there. Like, AK defensively is just so good. Next up, guys, we do have John Havlicek. He's going to shoot the ball well. Defensively, he's going to struggle. I'm going to put him at B tier, though. And the reason I say he's going to struggle defensively is if you're looking for him at that small forward position, he's just undersized, guys. He's only 6'5". And as much as I want to be like, oh, well, yeah, he can make up for that. I don't know if you can really make up for that. He's only 6'5" on the court. Has a good release. I'll put him at B tier. But again, he just is going to struggle defensively. Bob Love, I don't mind Bob Love. I actually have the card, and I've never used him. As crazy as that sounds, I got Bob Love, and I've never used him. I think he's fine. A good defensive option. I'm going to go B tier. TJ Warren stinks. TJ Warren is D tier. You talk about a guy that is a bona fide scrub that can't play. It's TJ Warren, man. I don't know what else there is to really say about it. This card is a bona fide scrub. JT Wantiscano up next. I'm going to go C tier. As far as like a 3-and-D type of player, I don't hate this card at all. And I know a lot of people aren't going to necessarily like that. A lot of people aren't necessarily going to agree with that. But that's my truth with Ron Toscano. I got him, and I feel like I can use him and not be at just like an automatic disadvantage. I feel like he can play at a pretty decent level in my team. Detlef up next. He's not the Detlef of old, right? Like last year we saw Detlef, and he always, I feel like, had one of the best releases in the game. This Detlef really doesn't. I'll put him at C tier. Has good height still to this day. Joe Smith up next. He's not bad. And the best part about Joe Smith is his length on the court. I'm going to go B tier. Again, not a card I love, not a card I'm going to use probably too much, but I am going to put him at B tier because I respect him. I think his height's good, defensively he's solid, and because of those couple of things, I mean, I'm going to respect him and put him at B tier. You guys, again, don't have to necessarily agree with all these. It's my opinion. Xavier McDaniel, great defender. He is going in B tier. Now, I have no hesitation with this. I mean, I feel like when you look at Xavier McDaniel, I used to call him a mini Giannis. Now, I hesitate to do that anymore because they nerfed his height. He used to be 6'9", now he's only 6'7". Still think B tier is where he belongs because of the defense he's going to play. Harrison Barnes, think he's underrated. Level up card. I'm going to go B tier. I don't mind Harrison Barnes at all. Again, I do believe he's underrated just because, like, nobody's really talking about him. Even me. I talk a lot about Charlie V because I think he's absolutely outstanding for the price he goes for. But even HB, Harrison Barnes, a little more expensive, but if you get him, he can play for you guys. And I want you guys to know that. Like, he can definitely play for you guys. And I don't have a problem with HB at all in my team. Next up, guys, we do see Caleb Martin. Evo card here. Now, the one thing I'll say about Caleb Martin is you're probably not going to want to dribble too much with him because he's got basic dribble style. But his release is good. His shots pretty decent. Has a high 3 ball as well. It just comes down to the sole fact of the matter is you just can't really dribble with Caleb Martin. Outside of that, I don't have a problem. B tier. DeAndre Hunter, I'm going to go C tier. If he gets another Evo, he'll probably be in B tier. He's a great 3 and D type option. I just think Caleb Martin's stats are just a little bit better. His release is a little bit better. That's why I have Caleb Martin at C tier or at B tier compared to DeAndre Hunter at C tier. But again, maybe the next Evo for DeAndre Hunter, he'll be even higher. Next up, guys, we do see DFS. And let me tell you guys, I love Dorian Finney-Smith. Now, I don't think he can be any higher than B tier. But let me tell you, he can go out there and compete against the Brons of the world. Don't be fooled, man. I'm telling y'all right now, he can go out there and compete with those guys. Dorian Finney-Smith has I don't want to gas his release. I'm going to say it's a decent release. It's not necessarily the best in the game, but it is decent enough that you can use it, grain with it, and have success with it. Now, the thing I like most about DFS is his defense. He's going to play absolutely incredible defense in my team. Has a good 6'7" frame. Do not be deceived. DFS, absolutely elite. Dale Ellis, I'm sorry, I'm going to go C tier. And it's crazy to me that I have Dorian Finney-Smith over Dale Ellis. And I know Dale Ellis is going to shoot the ball well. But that Aaron Nesmith base, like last year was elite. This year, I just don't know. When I shoot with Dale Ellis, it doesn't feel that good. When I play against Dale Ellis, not that worried about it. I'm putting him at C tier. Not a card I'm really that high on. Kevin Durant, A tier. Kevin Durant is closer to the Paul George, Andre Kirilenko level than he is to the LeBron James level. I mean, it really is that simple. And I don't like having LeBron up there by himself because it makes this whole tier list harder to do. But it's just something I personally have to do. I can't have anybody else at the same tier as Bron just because nobody else is to that level. Kawhi Leonard up next, A tier. Again, no problem with it. Probably I would have Kawhi in that position right behind Paul George ahead of AK. The more I play against Kawhi, the more I realize this card is a problem. I don't have Kawhi, and I've never played with him, so I can't really talk about that. The only thing I can talk about is playing against him, and trust me, it's not fun to play against Kawhi. I feel like on-ball defense, he's at the top of my list. Dominique Wilkins up next. This is a tough one. I think I gotta go C tier with Dominique Wilkins. To me, he just doesn't do enough to put him any higher. I know defensively he's going to be fine, but like shooting-wise, he's not great. Defensively, he's okay, not great. I just don't know about Dominique Wilkins. I'm going to put him at C tier. Again, I feel like you could have him at B tier, and I'm not going to argue with it. I just think it gets really tough to have him any higher than B tier. B tier is fine. Any higher than that, it's crazy. Franz Wagner, 6'10". I mean, I'm still going to put him at C tier. He's still got an incredibly good player build in my team. Obviously, outside of that, his release is decently quick, but he's just not great. I do think he's still C tier, but that's as high as I can go. Jason Tatum, this one's interesting. This one's tough. tough. Is Jason Tatum B tier or A tier? I'm going to go A tier. I still think when you talk about complete small forwards in my team, you got to mention Jason Tatum. Even with his badge count alone, man, he's got to be up there, man. I didn't lock in for Jason Tatum. I don't have Jason Tatum, but I respect him because his stats and badges are absolutely something special. Next up, guys, Jordan Walsh, C tier. I mean, he's a fine small forward. Is he great? No, but he's fine. He's going to do some things for you on the court. There are some guys on this list that I can't say are going to do anything on the court. At least Jordan Walsh, you know he's going to knock down shots. You know he's going to play decent defense. So for that, I mean, look, I can't hate on the card at all. I just can't. Some people might want to, but I just feel like the card all around is solid and a guy you can trust in the court. Lamar Odom does a little bit of everything. I think C tier is where he belongs. Anything higher than C tier, I just don't think I can do. But I put him in C tier and have no hesitation with that because he's going to defend, going to knock down shots, be good for you. Larry Johnson, our first F tier player. This is a card that I don't know what he does for you on the court. And I can't even sit here and be like, oh, he does. No. What does he do on the court for you? Larry Johnson is a bona fide scrub. I'll say it. If nobody else wants to say it, I'll be the one to do it. This card literally does nothing for you on the court, and I'm not even going to try to vouch for him. Matt Barnes up next. Great release. One of the, if not best releases in the entire game. C tier is where he belongs. The problem with Matt Barnes is outside of shooting the ball, I just don't know what he really does for you on the court. Yes, he shoots the ball at a really high level, but outside of that, he just doesn't do too much. That's why Matt Barnes, for me, is in C tier. Paul Pierce up next. I'm going to go D tier. I mean, let's be honest. At this stage, what is Paul Pierce really doing anything for us? Is he at this stage doing anything? I just don't know. He's fine. You can run him. I'm going D tier with Mr. Paul Pierce, though, in my team. Rick Barry, I mean D tier. Rick Barry, what are we doing? You're D tier. Ron Artest, C tier. I mean, you could argue B tier, but he's just a 3-and-D option. And if Andre Iguodala is going to be at C tier, so is Ron Artest, in my opinion. Sean Marion, you guys can hate me. I'm going C tier. Sean Marion's release is so bad, and there's only a select few people who are good with Sean Marion. I mean, his release is so bad. It's hard to time, hard to green. I can't get myself to put him any higher than C tier. And I have Sean Marion, just don't like the card. Steven Jackson, D tier. Don't see it with your Googs, D tier. I mean, let's be honest. A lot of these cards are garbage. C tier is a group of cards in which you can use and have success with. B tier and above are the cards I definitely recommend. Now, if there are cards in B tier that I'd move down, it'd probably be like the Hondos, the Joe Smiths of the world. But I feel like all these cards can compete. The only thing left to do is move Melo into A tier. I think Melo is deserving of that, especially when you compare him to everybody else at that B tier. I think he was the best player at that tier. So I move him up and I have no issues doing so. That's gonna wrap it up for our small forward tier list. Let me know your thoughts on it down below in the comments. Drop a like on the video, subscribe if you're new, and as always, man, I love you guys. Have a blessed day.